Hello and welcome to Tank Mechanic Simulator. I'm a bit late coming to this one. This game's like 5 and a bit years old already. But at the same time, a new DLC just came out adding the Cromwell. And from what I understand, it's not the original developers. They outsourced it. So they did 2 DLCs with, I think, 9 or 10 tanks between them. One was a bunch of Shermans, the other was a mixed bag. And then, 3 and a bit years later, the new single tank DLC has literally just come out last week for the Cromwell. This does not have the TOG. It actually really doesn't have a lot of British tanks, although there are some. It's mainly, in fact, that's a Churchill hull over there, which we'll maybe start building that. But yeah, there's a bunch of Sherman variants. There's, I think, 2 Tigers. There's a King Tiger. There's a Stug, which is, I think, the only tank destroyer. There's a pair of armoured cars. There's the Goliath remote control bomb for some reason. There's things like the Mouse. There's a couple of T-34s, IS-2. So it's all World War II stuff. There's no post-war anything. There's a distinct lack of French tanks as well. So there's no TOG, and the TOG would be kind of awesome, but it might also be a bit difficult to get the blueprints or whatever. It wasn't exactly a production tank. And French tanks, well, I mean, there's the Vickers Type E for some reason, and they also have Little Willie, which is the very first prototype tank, which is kind of neat to see in a game. But no FT-17s, none of the pre-war French tanks like the F-35s, H-35, anything like that, or the B-1 or the FCM. There's some very interesting French tanks that could be in here that would maybe be on the smaller side, but even something immediately post-war like the ARL-44, but there's not a lot of the only heavy tank is the Churchill, and well, no, that's not true. There's the IS-2 as well, and of course the Tiger and the King Tiger, but the Churchill for some reason is the Churchill AVRE. It's the engineering variant with the petard mortar. So it's the only Churchill. And in terms of other important British tanks, like the Matilda and the Valentine and the Crusader and the Covenanter and the various cruisers and the airdrop tanks, none of those are in. So I don't know. Maybe if they've just put out a DLC, maybe it sells well enough. I mean, it was a Cromwell, so that was a British tank. No Grant, no M3 Lee, no Grant. No Stuarts either. That's another notable omission. There are some light German tanks. There's, I think, there's Panzer 3 and Panzer 4. I can't remember if there's a Panzer 2 or not. You can actually look in the tank parts shop, and it basically tells you. So this is all of the things. Pershing KV2. There's other heavies. I suppose you could count Pershing as a heavy. You've got the M10 and the M16 in there. Actually, they're both also tank destroyers. There no Soviet tank destroyers. Like the Su-76 would have been an interesting addition, just because, as far as I remember, it's the most produced armoured vehicle of World War II. At least on a tank chassis. So I don't know. There's also a couple of wheeled vehicles as well. We've got the M20 and the M80, the M8 Greyhound, but no, maybe one American one and one British one would have been interesting, but no, sadly not. Or even one of the German ones, because the Germans had some fully wheeled ones, but instead we've got the German half-track, we've got the M3 half-track there, so yeah. For some reason, the BT7 has a Tiger picture. This is a Playway published game. It's got some jank, it's got some rough edges, and 6 years later, there's just things that they could have patched by this point that they haven't. And in terms of the user experience, the UI experience, It's also got some jank and some rough edges. So there's a lot of stuff in here that's really neat, and it's actually really interesting to root around inside the tanks. But even there, the tanks that came out with the base game, like for instance the Tiger, Panzer III, the Panzer IV, I'm trying to think which other ones. I think the Panther. They're noticeably a lower quality in terms of like the number of parts and the simplification of the models, whereas the Cromwell, the one that's just come out, is absolutely by far the most detailed model in terms of getting into its guts and seeing all the wires, all the pipes. I don't know if they're all there. There's probably still some simplification going on, but like compared to the Cromwell engine or like the Sherman engines, where you can basically strip them down to the bare engine block, and you have to add like all the valves and pistons and the rockers and everything, and then you compare that to the Maybach, the famous Maybach that was in the Tiger 1, and it's just this big lump of like, it's got like 5 or 6 parts to it. It's basically barely modelled. Anyway, so yeah, it's a game where it's like, you know, you repair tonks, and it's got some light business management stuff slapped on top, but and there's a little bit of progression in terms of like your tools availability and efficiency and stuff like that as well, but it's not nearly well as thought out as like PC Building Simulator. So like some of the parts, like a lot of the parts, you might see all the bolts and things, but you don't have to bother with them. But some parts, like this side skirt, for instance, you have to put all the bolts in. And whereas in PC Building Simulator, you get an upgrade you can eventually pay for, where if you've got things with lots of screws, you basically can then get to a point where the screws get put in or taken out automatically. That doesn't happen with this, so you get a part with a lot of bolts. It can be really, really tedious putting them all in. So yeah, so this one was a contract job, so we're actually going to finalise that through the organiser. Was that the... Oh no, this one wasn't a contract job. This one was a restored wreck. Have I got one of these in the museum section already? Because you get your own little display museum, because you can do jobs for other people, or you can restore wrecks just for yourself, put them in a museum, and people can come and pay and look for them, and you can generate a little bit of cash that way as well, but not really a lot, to be honest. I've got the T-34 Calliope, but we don't have... This is a late war Sherman. But I think we might just sell this one for cash. So we'll go... oh, actually, no. So the UI is also just a little bit clunky. So what we can do is just sell that one for 140k. So there we go. And I can maybe put that money towards... because I've only done it with 2 tanks so far. Buying blueprints. This is one of the later game mechanics. And this is what I've done with this Churchill AVRE, is once you've bought the blueprints, which is really expensive, you can basically fabricate from scratch. And the mechanics for doing it are a bit weird, because there's this whole scrap mechanic, where if I walk over to this workshop area, I can basically, from scrap parts, craft new bits, and it means I don't have to pay to buy the bits to put in. But it's really tedious. It's not particularly well thought out, because you can scrap parts on other tanks, and in theory, I guess you could go over to your scrapyard area, where occasionally tank wrecks will appear, and just like scrap everything off the hull and then sell the bare hull. But yeah, the other way to get scrap parts is to click on these piles, and you get like 30 odd bits of scrap, and this is there's no upgrade for this. You'd think maybe there'd be an upgrade if you get a certain amount of scrap daily, or you can hire an employee and they'll go through the scrap. And no, it's not at all been thought out beyond, let's put this bunch of stuff outside that the player can go and click on periodically to generate some extra scrap, because there is otherwise no way to get scrap. So yeah, it's very jank, it's very tedious, it's not very well thought out, it's not the fun bit of the game. So the closest you can do to building your own tank from scratch is buying the blueprint, and then you buy the bare hull, bare engine block, bare turret. And what we're going to do actually is I've been holding off on doing this, is put all the parts in this Churchill AVRE, and then that can go in my museum area, and we kind of walk around in it. So it's really like simple in terms of you just right click on things to install them in the correct building mode, and you can either be in like first person view or you can be in this orbital view, but even then the controls are a little bit wonky and janky and can sometimes end up yes, and we've now gone to the X-ray interior view, which I didn't want. So it doesn't always guess correctly what it is you want to do exactly, which is kind of annoying. But for like interior, putting the interior bits in, it's usually a little bit easier to use the X-ray view. Yeah, I mean, my summer car is just, it does so much extra that it's basically almost, it's like life sim on top of all the car stuff, and it's like genuinely, you know, you can do all the car tuning and stuff like that. And there are other games like I mentioned PC Building Sim, which the first one I think still overall it's got a bit more going on with it for the second one. The second one had some quality of life improvements and some nice like cosmetic things, but the first one had separate game modes, so you could be like managing, you could be like the technical guy for an esports team, or you could be in a corporate environment and have to deal with all kinds of unreasonable demands from your boss. But it was all very like tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. So turret, just checking what have I done. Firing pedal, I've got that. Okay, there can be little things you miss, and it took me a while to realise that it shows you exactly. Oh yeah, the actual barrel needs to go on. That you can actually see the exact everything. So these are all pre-painted, finished parts basically. So I don't have to do any of the sanding or anything like on these ones. And there is a very handy mode, which again it took me a while to find out to use, where you can see the condition rather than relying on the visual. Because if you're just relying on the visual when you're painting, sanding, whatever, you can miss stuff quite easily. So yeah, my summer car, and now of course my winter car has come out. But having said all I've said about the jank, like it is genuinely really quite interesting to be like going through the suspension and being like, oh yeah, so that's how all the parts like work together. So all the, you know, the bogie frames and the road wheels, and it really gives you a hands-on like, okay, this is how this kind of like, you know, this Christie suspension works versus, you know, this torsion bar suspension on this other vehicle. And yeah, it also really made me appreciate how much of an absolute ball ache the Tiger 1 and the Tiger... Well, I've not done a Tiger 2 yet, actually. I've not done a King Tiger. But again, the camera's being very janky with this. For some reason, this Churchill suspension. Yeah, the interleaved road wheel suspension that they did on the Porsche Porsche Tiger and the Tiger 2. Absolute nightmare. Like, trying to do that in the field must have been just awful. Just really awful. And it's bad enough doing it in the workshop when you're not even having to do any physical work. You're just like right-clicking on things. But, you know, this Churchill suspension is complicated enough on its own, and it's not helping that it's not helping that it's being a bit jank and putting me into different modes that I don't want it to necessarily. Although it does always put you in the orbital view when you're doing anything that has screws. So maybe if I just do all of these bogey frames. But it does, I mean, it gives you also an appreciation of like how, like, the design compromises and choices that had to go into making all of these things. So yeah, it's one of those games where it's very mid-tier, it's very jank, but at the same time there's really no other game that quite lets you get in and do things in the same way that this game does. And I mean, just the way, you know, the whole Churchill hull is designed with sponsons. You know, if you had to get in the guts of certain bits of the suspension, that must have been an absolute pain in the arse to do. Right, so yeah, I'll stick to doing it virtually rather than going and, you know, applying for a job doing this at Bovington, I think. Although somebody somewhere is probably like that is their dream job. Right, let's do all these bogey bracket frames. So this is with all of everything maxed out, all the possible upgrades and the speed upgrades and everything like that. There's no way of like, okay, you do it so it's doing both sides of the tank at once. So it's both, like, for instance, with the Cromwell having so many parts and being such a detailed model, it's both a blessing and a curse, because it means like the first Cromwell I did, I ended up missing a bit, and it took me ages to find which bit I'd missed, and it was blocking just a couple of other parts from being put down, and it took me ages to pin down where it was, and that was before I had figured out how to use that list it gives you of which parts exactly still need to be put in. Right, so that is all of the bogey wheels put in. We can now put on the tracks, which again far easier process than it would be in real life, because hey, it's a video game. I do find it a pity that we don't have a Matilda or a Valentine, though. I'd really like to work on a Matilda, even if it was one of the funky Matilda variants, like the Matilda CDL or something like that. Yeah. So this is going to be, I mean, because I've built this from a blueprint, a lot of the wrecks you either get in the salvage yard, and the other mechanic there is that I haven't showed you yet, is you can go and dig up tank wrecks. And I think some of the rarer tanks you probably have to go and dig them up. Like the mouse, for instance, I would be highly surprised if that ever pops up. I would suspect you would have to go dig up the mouse. Hey, Helty. So there is that element to it as well, but again, it just comes off as a slightly tedious extra mini game where they've obviously had the thought of, hey, you know, it would be neat if you could go and like go out in the world and find tank wrecks, and then it doesn't really translate well into an interesting gameplay loop. So I've only done it a couple of times because it's not a super interesting gameplay loop. But I suspect, like I say, it's necessary if you want to actually get some of the rare stuff. Like Tiger 2 maybe only pops up and as a wreck. I've not seen a Tiger 2 yet. Right, so that is one sponsor done. Get the evac hatch on there. And now we have to do the same on the other side. Okay. Right, so we'll do all the bogey frames. That's probably the easiest way. See, why is it switching me to an interior view? I don't want to switch to an interior view, game. You're shifting me inwards for some weird reason. Every so often. Sadly, you can't. Like, it'd be cool if you could mix and match, stick different turrets on different tanks, or like different engines in different tanks. But it does not let you be at all creative. You can't Frankenstein your own tanks, sadly. Although it would be hilarious to have a Churchill with a KV2 turret. Although I'm not sure, particularly practical, but it did get me wondering of like how would the Churchill handle if you were able to stick a Cromwell's Meteor engine in it. I mean, I don't think the gearbox would be very happy. I don't think it would let you go very fast, even so. Oh, yeah, now sometimes it also does this where it gets really quite finicky about where you are holding down the cursor. There is some music in this game, but it's very... It doesn't, as far as I know, let you like do custom music or... hell, you know, again, referring to PC building sim, where you can do things like have in-game, you know, customized desktop backgrounds, and in this you've got that same kind of pseudo computer interface, but no backgrounds, nothing, no, you know, apps to install that would change or enhance the experience. So yeah, there's a lot there that's just kind of a bit bare bones. And I don't know if this was a relatively inexperienced studio. I think they were Polish, because there's references to the Polish National Armour Museum. So, and there's also references to Rudy when you are doing stuff with the T-34-85. And outside of Polish players or Polish tank enthusiasts and people who just remember the Polish TV series and World of Tanks players, Rudy's probably not a particularly well-known thing. So, yeah. I haven't even looked it up, and I'm going to go with they are Polish. But I kind of looked at, like, I think I was aware of this when it came out vaguely, and I'm glad I've waited, because it's obviously come along with... I was able to get it on sale, and I was able to get it with all the DLCs in one go, rather than having bought it several years ago and then having to wait for a drip feed of content. And I think if I'd just only had those early tanks to play with, I think that would have been a bit disappointing, because, yeah, like I said, some of them feel very lacking in terms of detail. They feel very bare bones, and it doesn't feel like it's a deliberate, oh, we've, you know, this is an early career tank, this one's going to be easier to put together, and, you know, this one is a higher difficulty level tank. They haven't, like, it's not pitched like that in the game at all. It's all just presented to you in one great big mass, basically. Here is tank, fixed tank. Enjoy. Right, so we're almost done with suspension. These inside brackets are a bit of a pain to deal with. Some of these tanks as well, like you think of them as being quite big, and they are quite big, when then you actually, like, a lot of these are the closest I'll ever get to physically sitting in a tank, and it makes you realise that not so much. They're big, but they're not roomy. They weren't exactly designed with that level of comfort inside. Like, some of them are more so than others, and it would be hilarious to be in the TOG, but it's all still very much based on, like, here is a fixed camera point. In fact, I'll show you when I'm done with this. Oh yeah, I'll do these rods now, because otherwise I always forget them. But yeah, you can, well, there's also, once this is finished, I will go and drive it around the test track and maybe even shoot some things with the gun, because that's a thing you can do, which is, again, a nice touch. But we can get inside, so we can actually go and sit in the driver's spot, which is completely bare at the moment because we haven't done the interior, but we have done the hatches. And we can go over to gunner slot, and the periscopes, when there are periscopes, do actually work, which is cool. And you've got all the, like, radios, and for some reason in the AVRE the interior lights work, and then basically every other tank so far that I've played, they don't work. I don't understand why that detail is different, but anyway. So yeah, the turret is still, like, over there on the stand, but once we get it actually installed, you start to appreciate that, yeah, not a lot of room to swing a cat inside one of these things. It makes you wonder with Rudy, the T-34-85, like, that dog had to have been doing something. You can't just have a dog along because it's fun. Like, the dog has to be trained to pass you shells or something. I don't know. Right, so we're tow hooks, so let's get the interior in place. Now, this is one of the ones. Some of them, it's completely like the gearbox is just a single unit that you take out, or it isn't even a unit that you can take out, it's just an integrated part of the hull model, and it's, you know, sort of very basic. And in others, like the Shermans, or like this Churchill, or the Cromwell, you have to physically build the entire gearbox. And I think I prefer that more than the other, but it also does mean that it's a pain in the arse if you, like, miss a gear that's still, like, half rusty, and you have to go back in and disassemble the entire gearbox to get at it. So it can be neat seeing all the inner gubbins, but at the same time, if you have to go back in to fix one of the inner gubbins, it's a bit more of a pain in the butt. But yeah, it's still, like, ones where you get to see it. Like the entire gear assembly for the Sherman you have to put together, and I that's really neat. Am I missing a gear? I can't put the top. Can I put the top cover on? And it's just being. Oh yes, I can put the top cover on. Okay. Sometimes you're not sure if you haven't done all the bits yet, or if it's just being finicky. In that case, it was being finicky. Okay, get that on that side. So I think that's the gearbox fully done. We can just check that. No, it's not. Air compressor, clutch. Oh, okay. Yes, the stuff that comes out the front still needs to go on there. So we've got that. And then the actual game, come on. I know you're a bit jank. There we go. Right, exhaust, fan. And this is the other thing, is sometimes you're trying to, like, if there's stuff layered on top of other stuff, trying to click on the thing that you actually want. No, see, I don't want to put the engine hatch. There we go. Clutch. Can be a bit of a pain. Right, so that is the gearbox put in. I wish they'd given you 2 sets of steps for each bay. There are 2 sets of, or there are steps in the garage, but anytime you need to reset the garage, the steps just go back to their default position. So I could move those steps over here, but there wouldn't be any point. Which is another way in which this is frankly just a bit jank. Anyway, let's get this hatch in place. Now theoretically, you know, if this were real life, you would do the engine before you put on all the engine deck stuff. But you can just magically somehow put the engine in after you've finished everything else, so don't worry about it. Basically. It's a little bit silly. Like, if they wanted to be really hardcore, they could have made you do things in the exact order. Like, you can't put the engine back in without taking all the engine-based stuff off. So, in that case, that's a sort of sacrifice to simplicity that I am absolutely A-okay with. Right. I think we've done most of the outer hull stuff. Get the exhaust on. There's oh, I still haven't done these rear brackets. I almost went a bit naval there. I almost said the aft brackets. But I will say I did have at one point this very silly thought that, hey, what if you had this game but it was like warships, and you have to disassemble the warship and restore the warship. And then I thought, well, okay, you know, that would be neat, but at the same time you'd have to spend like 500 hours on, you know, grinding the rust off a Nagato or whatever. And then another 500 hours painting it and putting all the parts back in, and I don't think that would work very well for a video game. As neat as it would be able to wander around inside the guts of like even a World War II destroyer, the amount of like modelling required and the amount of time and work required to put such a thing back together would be a little bit silly. Right, so radiators, radiator caps. Just casually slipping the fuel tanks in behind them. Do I do it on that side? I think so. Gotta open those. Yes, I did do it on that side. The fuel tank caps. So this is one of those ones where even though you've got the like you do the full gearbox, there's not really a lot of wiring or anything to go in this one. So, and the Shermans are kind of the same, although maybe a little bit more. So some of it might be like trying to limit the amount of polygons or whatever, the amount of model complexity for each model, in order to keep the game running reasonably okay. But I don't know. I think it's just they've made some slightly inconsistent decisions in terms of like how complex some of the models are going to be. And as I said previously, I think a lot is also the tanks that came out are just at the start are just generally a bit less complex than the tanks they added through the DLC. So yeah, and again, that's the thing where in theory they could have gone back and like spruced up those earlier models, but they haven't, and they haven't fixed some of the the jank and the bugs that they could have fixed in the last couple of years. So this is definitely your mileage may vary kind of a game. There is some wiring in this one, but it's a big block of here's all the wires at once. Right, have I got everything there? Interior lamps. You can get things like machine guns and whatever props to like stick in the gunnery ports and whatever, but I actually haven't figured out quite how you do that. Right, so that is everything aside from the engine, which again, this is one of the more modelled engines where there's actual interior parts that you need to put in, like spark plugs and gears and what have you. And rods and rocker valves, and it's actually quite interesting seeing the difference in engines between, because there's a bunch of different Shermans and they've all got different engines, and seeing the difference between basically the early piston engined Shermans, where it's basically it's something that you would not be surprised to find on a 20s or a 30s airplane crammed into the back of a tank. And then later on you've got like V8s and V12s instead of this big round aero engine. Have we put that piston in place already, or is it just being... Oh, there we go. Sometimes it can be a bit finicky when you're doing it the first person view. Yeah, I might just have to... There we go. Switch to orbital. But this when there's this level of detail, this is neat. This is like, this is the interior of the engine. This is how it works. You've got to put it together correctly, otherwise you try and turn the engine on, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to sit and look at you and be a bit, a bit unhappy because there's bits missing. Right, that camshaft's there, and then these valves here. If they ever did a second game, like a follow-up, there's so many like refinements that they could add to this, which would be very welcome. Right, so oh, we're missing a valve there. But as it is, there just isn't any other game which lets you get in the guts of a tank like this. Or at least not that I know of. There's plenty that do for cars. There's even games like, is it Automation? Which basically, again, it's gamified in that you're running your own car company, but you design the engines, you design the cars from, like, it gives you templates that you can like deform and like car bodies that you can change, but you can like really get into the nitty-gritty of like engine timings, and then you can use the same engine for multiple different models, or you can iterate, or like it's really super duper in depth. And it's sort of interesting watching other people play, but I don't have any clue at all. Although the neat thing with that game is they also have then made it compatible with BeamNG, so you can take your cars that you've designed in automation and then put them in BeamNG and actually like drive them around and, you know, crash them into things if you want to. But I've watched a couple of series on YouTube where people have done that, and they've set out to design cars in a particular style. So this is basically 2 bus engines strapped together. And it's yeah, I think it's pretty much the same engine used throughout the entirety of the Churchill's existence and all its different models, and then through to the Black Prince. And it does make you wonder, you know, Churchill with a more powerful engine, what could it have, would that have been, how would that have performed? But I guess they needed the more powerful engines for faster tanks, and it was never really a priority, even though they did make and use the Churchill throughout the entirety of the war. Right, filter pipe. Ignition wires. Oh, there we go, filter pipe on that side. It's just, I don't know, I like it, seeing it all just build up and come together and come into this finished thing. Right, 80, I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten? Can I spot it? Aha! Caps. Exhaust pipe. Is that it? Yes, that's it. So, I can stick everything together. And we've got a Churchill AVRE, which has absolutely no holes in it because I've basically built it from scratch. You'd have to look up the exact type of engine, but I just know it was like a Leyland bus engine or something like that. Because Vauxhall designed and built the Churchill, and I think one of the reasons why they ended up getting the heavy tank contract was because they were using a widely available engine that wasn't going to compete with engines needed for other tanks or aircraft. So we need to... Oh, wait, I clicked the wrong thing. You can try and turn the engine on in the garage, but it's not going to do anything if you don't have... fluids! You need fluids! You need to keep your tank properly fluidated. I was going to say hydrated, but pouring water into the fuel tanks is probably not going to do much good. Yes, it's what tanks crave. You've got to pour Brando into your tank, otherwise it won't go properly. Actually, I don't think Homebrew existed at that point, or maybe it did. So we can... I can't remember where you do it from now. Right, we'll go to the little test drive track, and then we'll try the proving grounds and see if we can just shoot the gun. So yeah, it gives you a little circular track. This is all built in Unity, by the way, so it's not particularly performant or smooth. It's not particularly optimized. I have to wonder if this was maybe not the most experienced studio in the world. And see, this happens a lot as well. You try and go to the interior view, and for some reason the camera completely wigs out, so you have to go to exterior and then interior. So yeah, you can get like a you know, third person or wall of tanks kind of view, or you can actually drive the thing from inside, which is kind of neat. So let's start the engine. Actually, let's do it from the exterior view so you can see the suspension animation actually working. Oh, I've turned the engine off again there. That's exactly what I meant to do. And they do correctly model as well that some tanks could neutral steer and other tanks can't. So, you know, they've clearly done that homework when it comes to the actual tanks. It's just some of the game side of things itself that is rather jank. So yeah, this you know, this didn't have to be a thing within this game, but they at least went to the effort of putting in, you know, the driving physics and all that kind of thing, and, like, the individual parts being able to move around and track physics and... Oh dear, okay. Oh. Is that better? I didn't realise it was that loud. Also, another bit of jank is when you go to the menu. Whatever sound level was going on at the time just kind of sticks there continuously. Yes, exactly. It's like I'm streaming from inside the tank. For some reason it's closed my hatches and whatnot, but yeah. See, it's actually quieter inside the tank, which doesn't seem quite right, but... So yeah, you don't exactly get a very wide field of view inside of a tank, but, you know, for some reason they didn't want to give them panoramic glass windows. Can't think why. Yeah, probably. I don't know if these counters are accurate at all. Anyway, so I don't know why it's so juddery when you're out here. So the other place we can take it is... Do we have to go back to the workshop to... Apparently we have to go back to the workshop to go to the proving ground. Okay. So this is an unlockable area. You don't get this when you start. It allows you to test fire your guns, essentially. But I think you have to buy the ammo? So, does it let me... Does it do it automatically? I've not done this before, so I don't precisely know. It also bugs me, I mean, this is in the workshop as well, that it's very mucky and you can't clean it up. There's no option to be like... Right, is there a menu somewhere? Okay, that gives me targets. Resupply. I think that's the button we want. Right, does it show the... No, it doesn't. I don't know with this one because it's a mortar firing tank. I honestly have no clue. I don't know if it will let me use the tank firing range. I might have to switch to a different tank to do that. I think you can only fire the gun when you're at the firing position. So we'll see if it works with the AVRE, and if it doesn't, I'll just whack it in the museum and we'll try it with a different tank later on. Right, in theory, Churchill should have absolutely no problem with this kind of slope. Also, it's a good thing that these are very solid sandbanks. Right, now, how do I have to, like, switch position to the gunner position? Okay, yes, I can switch to the gunner position. Okay, we're loading. Oh, it has moving targets in the background as well. I kind of want to see the outside view. See the turret. Oh, there we go. Whoa. Oh, it's super twitchy. It's super twitchy. Okay, the camera is super twitchy now. That's not me being very aggressive. Okay. I mean, this is nice, but it was clearly, like, it wasn't built around being able to do this in the game. This is something they have kludged into the game as a different mode. Also, I suspect this reload is a lot quicker than the actual reload would be. Alright, that was quite far. That was about maximum... What is maximum elevation? Let's see how far. We're also not actually using up our ammo. So that's maximum elevation. Not that far, but I mean, this was never designed to fire at things far away. This was a fortification buster. It's nearly 300mm mortar. I think a little bit higher to get that target. And it's hard doing the increments. It's not smooth at all. I think that was around about the right place. Anyway, let's head back to the workshop. We'll put a coat of camo on this, stick it in the museum area, which is my intent all along. So tank manager, and again, look at how janky this. Look at how janky this UI is. It doesn't. It's fine. It just about works. So this isn't the same as, like, even though you've got a separate paint room, you still have to put primer and then the final coat on in the workshop area. You can't unlock the paint room and then come and do those stages all in one go in the paint room, because that would make sense. Okay, this doesn't have any preset colour schemes. Some of them have preset colour schemes, others just have the different kinds of camo, but you can also tweak the colours, so it's a little bit like the World of Tanks camo selector. Although the white is rather blinding. It's supposed to be like you know, a winter camo, but that's a bit too white. They've messed up their surface material specular something or something, I don't know. It doesn't look great. Shall we go with that kind of woodland camo? There's a couple of different decals you can stick on as well, but it's not an amazing system. It doesn't look great. So, tank manager, we're going to put this in, not the warehouse, we're going to put this in the museum. So we're going to move Tonk, and then we can actually go to the museum. Like I said at the start of the stream, you can get a bit of money from having a museum area, and the more tanks you have in there, and I don't know if there's something to do with like the rarity of the tanks, but yeah, you can wander around. There's little display cases for the props that you can either buy or dig up, and there's information sheets for each one, so there is something going on for the background as well. It's not just a tank. But as with the rest of the game, look how janky it is. There's not like a list, it's just a big scrollable pane, and you have to just either remember where the things are, or you have to scroll around to find it. It doesn't even try and pick it out automatically. Right, so there we go, we've got AVRE there, and we were a bit further down, more further down than that. There we go, about a quarter of the way to the bottom. There. So, yeah, there we go. Churchill AVRE. Now, one thing it would be nice, again, very jank, if you could have like various hatches and things open, so you could, you know, when you come through to your museum, you can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to look in and see the engine and whatever. But whatever you do, it doesn't actually save the position of the tank, or like the positions of the hatches. It will reset everything to being closed. So yeah, so some of these are, I think most of these are restored from they're either ones I've dug up, or they're restored from wrecks from the junkyard area. So a lot of them have what is supposed to be battle damage, but it looks a little bit clean. And sometimes the placement of the holes, which can be quite random, it intersects with some of the other furniture on the tanks in a way that looks deeply weird. So there's been a couple of tanks where I've just sold them because the hole was in a really weird place. It's definitely a BT7. It's not a Tiger. Really, it's not a Tiger. We do have a Tiger. And those road wheels are an absolute bastard. The white paint on the Tiger is not so bad. This one's an actual camo pattern. It's not just the stark white. It's got Sherman Calliope over there. That's the T-34-85, which is supposed to have, one of the info panels is supposed to have a bit about Rudy, but it's, I don't know if it's something to do with the lighting from this window that's screwing up there, or if it's the actual info panel, because when you look at these, like, this is going to be in the game files. It's literally just going to be a big JPEG or PNG or whatever format with all the bits on it. So you could probably make your own custom things fairly easily by just rooting around in the game files and finding where those images live, and make your own custom displays. And probably the same for the posters as well, because you can also switch out the posters. You can see I've got the Rudy poster there. So yeah, at the moment this is making, I think I've got it set for $25 admission, and you can see there since the last time I changed the price, it seems to every time you change the price it resets all the numbers, but I've made a whole $8,000. And again, this is very like sort of afterthought of, well, wouldn't it be nice if you could display some of the tanks? And then they've gone, well, what if you make a bit of money from displaying the tanks? So in terms of like a business management side of things, there's no staff, there's no running costs, there's no electricity costs, there's no, maintenance costs for the tanks. You don't have to like set opening hours or like, this could have been a whole extra little side activity that you could go into if you really wanted to, or you could have just had it like, okay, this is my private collection. But there's just not that much thought gone into it. It's just a kind of little bonus thing they've done. It is nice to be able to wander through and see a bunch of tanks that you've restored. Right, so I've got one contract that I've been saving, which is, now most of these are my Rex that I've bought, but there is this one which is a contract. Yeah, they've put Little Willie in the game, and if you don't know Little Willie is the first tank. And it actually exists at Bovington Tank Museum, and I've seen Little Willie in person a couple of times. It's not an actual like combat tank, it wasn't meant to fight, it was basically a prototype of, will this concept work? Will this armoured box with tracked suspension, will it go? Will it work? Is it feasible? How many people can we fit in it? What are the ergonomics like? What is the production process like? How expensive will it be? What kind of fabrication will we need? So I think it was built by was it like William Foster? It was like a railway works, like a company that built railway locomotives, steam locomotives, obviously, at that stage. Although electric locomotives were a thing in... and I think there were some very, very early diesel locomotives as well, but like steam was still king until a few years after the war anyway. And yeah, like I guess there weren't that many existing businesses that would have been able to handle that sort of thing. Like maybe a shipyard might have been able to, which would have further reinforced the naval connection, because of course the sort of motive force was in fact the Royal Navy for designing what were at the time called land ships. So I only have 2 driver positions. Okay, there's that area at the back which you can't really hear it, but the grinder does make a noise. I think the engine sounds are just so much louder than anything else. Is that? Yeah, now that is something we can grind the rust off of. I just can't get to it from the interior view. Can I? Whoop. I might need to just like dismount the part and fix it that way. One thing that does irk me a little bit is that even though you've got this whole workshop area, you can't clean individual parts detached from the tank. You can only clean and paint the parts when they are attached to the tanks. So once you've got a tank in this state, there's a couple of different ways you can go about things. If you've got the blueprint, you can just straight up go and fabricate parts if you've got enough, but it can take several thousand scrap to fabricate. Like the Churchill, for instance, if I was going to fabricate all the parts from scratch, even though I had a blueprint, I bought the parts because it would have been like 8,000 scrap. It was a lot of scrap. Can I actually get on top of this thing to... I don't think there's any way I can. Literally, the ladders are not tall enough. No, okay. We're just going to have to go to the interior view. That one. Tank interior. Oh, no, it's fixed now. I must have been able to do it from the outside. Right, so... back outside. So generally what I've done, because it's the easiest balance between cost and time, is and it does have a quite handy I can put that cover back on actually, like it's one of the quality of life things that does exist is you can where are we? Analysis screen. I want the analysis screen. So we go buy missing parts, and it gives you sliders so you can see what you can like make the parts if you're able, but we can't. So we're going to buy the parts, but it gives you the option to buy the parts in different conditions. And so buying the parts where they're all rusted and need cleaned and repaired, less than 1,000. If we go all the way to buy everything in finished condition, 20 grand. It's basically never worth doing that. What you can do is you can go accept, buy all the parts. We now have all the parts, and then we can click the outsource repairs button, or we have to select everything first. And then for an additional $1,100, we actually get everything in the finalized painted condition, as opposed to paying $20,000 buying it straight from the shop. I don't know quite why they added that step at the shop of where you can spend so much more money than you need to. You could also like put all the rusted parts on, and there's some bits that if they're in the rusted condition, they're essentially broken. Then you need to fix them through this menu anyway. And then you can put the other rusty parts on the tank and clean them manually. But we're just going to select all outsourced repairs. And it'll just do that for me. And I can concentrate on cleaning and prepping what I've got. So we'll just sand everything down, and as you can see, you get a visual change, but it's a lot easier if you're in the whatever this view's called, I can't remember now, that basically shows you if it's red, if it's deep red, it's like broken. If it's red, it's rusted. Yellow is a kind of intermediate sanded stage, but some bare metal parts like in engines and stuff, for example, you'll notice that rod there's green because that's the finalized condition. So if it's green, it's finalized. And like engines, for example, only require grinding and dusting. In fact, talking of the engine, we can get the engine out of it because that will need to be, oh, there we go. So the engine isn't quite fully fixed, and there's a belt there that needs taken off. That's one of those parts that you can't, for some reason you can't grind the rust off a rubber belt. No, that's not the part I wanted to take off. Oh, I really have to take all that off to get at the rubber belt. Okay, never mind. So within so we can click on that and outsource repairs. So without having the blueprints, that's basically the only way you can do that. So that's it now. Almost all dusted, sanded down, dusted down. I know what I mean. Or the top hatch might need to be actually. There's a little sneaky part there as well. Oh, right, so then you've got the 2 painting steps, which is no, that's a sledgehammer. So if you just want to brute force knock things off a tank, you can do that. Doesn't apparently damage them at all. Saves you having to undo a bunch of screws, I suppose. So then we put on our red oxide primer. And again, it's easier to do this in this view. Because sometimes you'll partially paint a thing and it visually looks painted, but it's only like 80% painted. Whereas in this view, it's entirely binary. It tells you when it's painted. So you can make sure you have, in fact, got everything as it should be. Now, is that bolt a separate thing? Yeah, sometimes the bolts do not change colour when you'd think they would. It's not necessarily that they're still rusty, it's just that for some reason it displays them as being red. I think that is, yes, that needs primer on it. So there we go, that's the final paint colour. I can't remember what the... We're just finishing is a grey, and I think Little Willie, I've got a picture somewhere. I've got probably more than one actually. My experiences at Bovington. I'm sure it's a greenish colour they've got it restored to, but not sure why I've done it a different colour here, unless it was a different colour when it was built. Not 100% sure. I mean, it would have been interesting if they'd put in like one of the British, the actual World War I tanks, like a the Mark. There's a bunch of them. It was like the Mark I, Mark II, Mark IV, and then was like the International, and then there was oh right, that needs to be sanded. Still some stuff that hasn't been sanded yet. You know, the Whippet, or there was the A7V and the Saint-Chamond, and yeah, there's other World War I tanks they could have put in maybe. So I don't know. Maybe the fact that there's now this third-party company, like if the Cromwell DLC does okay, maybe they'll be like, okay, we shall commission this company to do more. Or we might get, you know, take apart a Saint-Chamond, take apart a TOG 2. Who knows? Right. I think that's everything done in terms of... Oh, I see one yellow part there. This is why this view is useful. And then sometimes there's stuff that you missed that you only then catch through the tank analysis thing. But at the moment that's not showing us, it's showing things missing because, you know, there's not the stuff I haven't put on there. Right, so we need to put that belt back on. And we can sandblast the engine. When you're sandblasting like this, if it's an engine that has interior parts modelled, it mostly models the interior parts correctly. But I have had once or twice where there's just like an odd piston or something that just doesn't work for some reason. Alright, so the engine's finished, so let's get on with putting together the rest of this. I think there were, if I remember correctly, there were tracked vehicles that existed before this. Like, the idea of a caterpillar track was not new, but it was like agricultural vehicles, and maybe the odds like industrial vehicle, probably some experimental vehicles somewhere. But yeah, it wasn't like a super common mode of what would you call it? I don't know, like versus, you know, wheels or whatever. Talking of odd wheels, I did actually see a thing the other day, probably on Reddit. That's where I see a lot of odd things on Reddit. Of post-war, it was like a 50s. It was like a tracked vehicle, like a caterpillar vehicle, except instead of tracks, it used airbags. So it was like it was meant for like the swamps of like Vietnam, basically. Or swampy areas generally, but I think it was it would have been, yeah, during the Vietnam time frame. So it was like a whole roller system, except yeah, you had just like these big tough airbags on the outside, and it wasn't super successful because it was fine in like keeping it relatively buoyant, but it also meant it didn't really get any traction in like wet or muddy areas. Like, it would have been fine in like dry areas or whatever. Probably not a particularly comfortable ride, but yeah, like these airbags were just slipping around on the mud, so it wasn't actually particularly useful. Hey, Fu. I'm just playing with my little Willie. Yes. Right. Interior. Do we have a couple of interior parts. We have a steering lever. There's really not a lot of. There's a visor port there. Oh, you could actually, I can pop off the differential cover, and one of the gearboxes can only do this bit from the outside, the tank status. Hull interior, radiator cap. Right, well that's a part we basically had no way of getting to, so we're going to have to clean that through the storage menu and just wait for 20 odd seconds. I think this was one of the tanks that came out with the game launch, so it's one of the less detailed models. But given that they probably had to go off, like they may have had some actual drawings to go off. Oh wait, you could get to the radiator cap from the outside, but oh, we do have something missing from the gearbox or something. Okay, right. So I think it just needs to be. Nope. Interior mode. There we go. Rust removal. So we're gonna. Right, gearbox condition 94%. What else are we missing? The fact that you can only access the status menu from the outside of the tank. Am I going to have to deconstruct the gearbox? Drive shaft. I'm going to have to deconstruct the gearbox. Okay, it's all fine apart from I'm going to have to deconstruct the gearbox. Which we're going to have to hop inside to do. Okay, so they have actually modelled the gearbox on this, which is pretty cool. Although it is a relatively simple gearbox, it looks like, which is maybe not that surprising. So there we go, we have the drive shaft and the differential. So it's those bottom parts that basically we couldn't reach with the sander. So again, we have to get out, we have to go to there, we have to go blah, blah, blah. Outsource repairs, which is very cheap. Takes a minute for some reason. And then we can have a little trundle around on the test track in Little Willie, although I don't think it's going to be a particularly fast trundle. I don't think this went very fast. I'm actually going to quickly look up. Maybe it is grey, maybe I'm just misremembering it being green. Okay, I think it was green at one point, and this is why I'm misremembering. But it's grey now. Okay. And also just glancing at the photo and then glancing at Little Willie in the game, it does seem like it's a reasonably... I just want to open the flaps. There we go. It does seem like it's a reasonably accurate representation. This seems like a much lighter grey than it is painted at the Tank Museum, though. But the proportions seem okay. It's missing maybe a few details, like in terms of bolts modelled in various places. And we don't have the William Foster plate on the front, which is a slightly strange omission. It would also be nice if it had Little Willie painted on the side, as it does in reality as well, but anyway. Right, so we can get back inside and put those parts in place. Drive shaft D, got to give it the D. Okay, we're going to have to go outside and then... there we go, differential gears B, and we can put the differential housing back in place. It's not a terribly complicated gearbox, but it was, you know, the prototype of prototypes. So, condition 100%. This is now ready to... I keep doing that. Clicking engine when I mean to click on the fluid menu. Yes, I know the coolant's not filled. I'm not sure why they went with all this like animation and you have to wait and hold down and like, and some tanks, I think the IS-2's got like 6 or 8 fuel tanks. It's got like 2 or 3 internally and then like 4 external ones, and you have to fill all of them. So yeah, test track. Let's take Little Willie for a spin. Oh yeah, helps if you put the helps if you put the engine back in. Okay. I wonder... I don't think it matters which driver slot we're in. Again, it's being... There we go. This is going to be very noisy. Presumably you would have had to clamber past the engine to get to the rear door. I'm doing alright today, but I've had all sorts of annoying stomach issues recently. I've actually been off work this week. Okay, this is quite slow. And I've got a doctor's appointment on Monday, and I don't think it's anything particularly serious, but we'll see. I think my stomach is just being dramatic for the sake of being dramatic. I think doing the entire test course might take a while. But yeah, this is my first stream in a couple of weeks. And it's kind of, I'm at this point at the moment where it's like, it has to be something like this coming along and grabbing my attention, and then me going, oh yeah, no, I could stream this. This would be a good thing to... Yeah, we're doing like 2 miles an hour, if that. Which is probably accurate. Right, we could go around the whole track, but I'm not going to because that would take a very long time. Hey, TW. Right, so that is a contract, so I can go and... That's my 25th contract, apparently. So the other contract I have on hold at the moment is... well, I've got 2, actually. I've got a repair for Tiger H1, but we've also got an extraction available. So let's do that. So this is the other mini game that they've included, where you go and dig up tank wrecks. And to be honest... Well, this field seems familiar. I don't think they've got too many different outdoor areas where, in fact, it's even in exactly the same place. So I've got a magnetometer. There's a drone I've got somehow. I'm not sure how I use that. I've not used the magnetometer before now. First couple I dug up just using the regular metal detector. And I've somehow got a drone, but I don't know where the drone is or how I use that. So yeah, it gives you a little search radius, and you basically find the metal lump under the dirt, dig it up a little bit, and then... well, you'll see. You sometimes end up having to deal with water. Right, so how do I... magnetomet? Oh, it's even got a... Okay, does the mini-map on the screen on the magnetometer have to be so damn tiny? It's like the entire map. So you're using the mini-map on my screen in the top right-hand corner. I might have to turn the sound up, actually. If it starts beeping at me, I don't think I'll be able to hear it. So I'm not, like I said, I've not used this before. Is it? I think it's blue where I've covered. So is it going to be like a different colour where I've not been? Or when I go over some metal? I don't know. The game didn't really give me instructions on how to magnetomet. It just goes, spend your rep points and get a magnetometer. We're not going to tell you how to use it. Figure it out on your own. At least with the metal detector, it's pretty self-explanatory. I presume it's not going to be buried under the road, but I've got no idea. Oh, okay, yellow blob. Yellow blob might mean something. Have to run and grab the shovel. Wait, where did I... Oh, I should have dropped a marker. I've lost my magnetometer. It's somewhere. Magnetometer! Where are you? Yeah, you can do this. You can drop a marker. I forgot to drop a marker. That's on me. And now I've lost it in the tall grass. There it is. Right. I don't know why I put a marker there. I don't need it now. Let's see if we can find a thing. You can occasionally find other things. Like I found a machine gun randomly. Oh, we've got the edge of something. Yeah, there it is. That's a KV-1, I think. Yeah, it's a KV-1. Okay. I've done a KV-2, but I don't think I've done a KV-1 before. What's this? Is it a KV-2? No, that's a KV-1. Right, so then we go to the tablet. Nope. We have to go to the different tablets. We have to go to the tablet that's on the Jeep. Can't carry that tablet with you because that would be crazy. Why would you carry that tablet? Oh, there's the... Oh, you have to place like... Okay, so there is a drone. And you have to like place waypoints for it. Oh! Does that mean there's stuff over there? So there can be stuff outside of the... Oh, also there is a... There's something there, and then there's two somethings over here. Okay, well the drone is much easier. Now I know that the drone is just like point and click. Also, for some reason they decided there would be like a day-night cycle. I don't know why. I don't know why they decided there had to be a day-night cycle. Shovel, and it'll be this one. So there's something buried here. It's never exactly made clear where you are supposed to be. Like, there's all these World War II wrecks, so Europe? But everything's in dollars, and, you know, wherever we are, we're finding Eastern Front wrecks and Western Front wrecks all in the same place, so don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, is that something, or is that... Oh, yeah, there we go. We found a gun, which I can stick in my museum. And then there's apparently... Did I not pick the shovel back up? No, I didn't. You'd think you could just... Like, this was one of my complaints with the jank early on, is you, like the sandblaster and all that stuff, you had to physically walk over, pick up the sandblaster, pick up the paint gun, pick up the sledgehammer, pick up whatever tools, and it's only at the end of that little tech tree that you then get the option to have all that stuff on your hotbar automatically. But that doesn't apply in this mode because, I don't know, reasons. So you have to run back over physically to grab the spade if you forgot to pick it up. And this, why did we need to have it get dark? I don't know. I don't think it's particularly adding anything to the atmosphere of the game. In theory there's something here, but not seeing it. No idea, let's try the other marker. Also the digging is a bit tedious as well, because of course it is. Like you have to be looking sometimes right down before you can. It doesn't. Not even just looking at the ground. You have to be like staring at where your non-existent feet are. Australian. Okay. I mean, I'm always up for a good Tank Museum YouTube channel, so I'll check them out. I'm subscribed to the Bovington one. I'm actually a Patreon supporter of the Bovington Museum as well. They're doing a restoration project. They want to get their Tiger 2 in running order, which I think will make it the only one in the world that's running. So I presume some of my Patreon bucks are going towards that, but they're doing it as a separate like fundraiser. Right, I'm trying to dig, but we're not actually digging, so anyway. Right, am I stuck in the hole? I don't want to be stuck in the hole! Dig up, stupid! There we go. Right, all the way back to the Jeep to pick up that tablet, because you can't take it with you. Why would you take it with you? That's crazy talk. No, I don't want to get in the... Right, it's fine. Oh, really, game? Really? You're going to make me physically move the magnetometer? You're not just going to like, oh, I'll reset the position of it when you select it. No. You have to physically lift the magnetometer out of the way. Okay. Fine. Sure. We have found something, yeah. I would hope so. Right, so for some reason, sometimes there's water and you have to like use a pump to pull out the water. Again, doesn't add anything to the gameplay loop, it just takes a little bit more time. And then you have to spray mud off it, which doesn't actually change the visual of the model at all. You're just having to look at the little meter down at the bottom to see how much you have, air quotes, cleaned. Because you have to, air quotes, clean it before you can pull it out of the ground. Yeah, it's hardly Power Wash Simulator. So a lot of the game elements of this game they kind of reek of an inexperienced design team, to be honest. Right, that should be enough. Oh, there we go, tank on trailer. I just right click for that. And you hear a thing of it driving off, and then I can just return. So now we have a KV-1 wreck to restore. And the ones you pull out of the ground can be a bit different. They can have props, like guns and things inside them. Sometimes they even have ammunition still inside them. But otherwise, they are functionally the same as ones that you pull out the junkyard. See, this one's full of ammunition still. Very pristine, shiny looking ammunition that is somehow hovering in place despite the fact that there doesn't appear to be an actual ammo rack there. So the game logic is like, okay, we can have ammunition inside this tank you found, even though the ammo rack isn't actually present in this tank that you found. No clue. Now what I can do... this doesn't look too bad, so what we might do is go to the parts shop, find the KV-1. I might buy a blueprint for the KV-1. I've only bought a couple of blueprints so far. So that's nearly 300,000. But I'm at a stage now where like the economy of this game is not very hard. When you're starting out, if you really get stuck for cash, which I don't even know why you would, the tutorial contracts are pretty generous. But if you get any, like say, okay, so we do have, oh, that's one I haven't encountered before. That's a Vickers Type E. I'll buy that. But you can buy like literally under $100 without adding anything to it. You can buy a wreck, and that's a Cromwell. We'll buy that actually. Cromwell would be a good one to show off because Cromwell's the new tank, the new DLC that has come out a week ago. That is quite a complicated one as well. But yeah, you can like buy the wreck and basically like grind the rust off, paint what's there, and you can go from having spent $100 on a lump of rust to oh, we've got a Hellcat as well. Also buy that, and you can either like sell these or whatever, or put them in the museum or in the warehouse space that I have. Like, you can basically buy infinite warehouse space if you really want. So yeah, the Vickers Type E, I've not done the Type E before. For some reason it also automatically, like, you buy a wreck and it treats the paint room as like a restoration bay. And here's where some gaming mechanics could have come in. You could have been like, okay, I can hire employees and I can have like 4 bays and I can assign employees to work on tanks, and they'll be less efficient than me doing it, but you can like work on multiple tanks at once that way. But yeah, the game part of this game is not that well thought out. So let's shuffle some things around. So we've got one in the yard. So we can move Hellcat there. And we can move... We'll move the Vickers there for now, and then we'll move the Cromwell to the second bay. Because we can do the Cromwell after the KV-1, because the Cromwell will be quite time-consuming. And it's got like a fully modelled engine, you do the full gearbox. Which game is that, Latty? You might have to name a name for me to know which one you're talking about. Like this engine model in comparison to the Cromwell is pretty basic. Or may you build colonies? Oh, the space station game. Do you mean that one? The one that I streamed? It's not released yet. They haven't like finalized it. Okay, yeah. I think they're creeping. Like there's been a couple of patches since then, but nothing like no huge major patches. So, see, this one's got. It also comes with a DT. Is that a Dushka? I think you can stick that back inside on the when it's in the tank museum area, but I don't know how you do that, and the game doesn't actually tell you. It's probably, I think there's like a PDF manual, which I must admit I haven't read. I'm from that era of gamers growing up where games did come with manuals and you had to read the manuals, and then we're now in very much in the era of in-game tutorial and what is a manual. And I have adapted to that era rather too well. I mean, I remember reading the manual for my copy of Civ. Now, granted, this was late 90s, like CD re-release of Civilization, but still, it had quite a chunky manual, and the impressions, city builders, and I think Sim Tower, although that probably didn't have much of a manual, to be honest. I think we might need to take off the entire engine cover to get to that. Or can we just... There we go, we can come and kneel down. It's a little bit janky sometimes, but you're able to jump in and out of... Like sometimes you have to use this reset position thing, because you'll get stuck in a tank hull and you just can't get out. Okay, right, so... Yeah, this engine really doesn't have that many parts. The engine's actually complete, which is nice. The engine doesn't need any... Okay, that's good. Suspension is half gone. And... not sure about the gearbox. We might need to take the engine cover off. Let's take a look at the turret. Good old KV-1. We've got a machine gun in there as well. I wonder if I... Although it does seem to be on the wrong side. Yeah, that was a bit weird. It was on the wrong side. It's a slightly odd mistake. Right, the rear-facing gun is at least... Well, it was poking through, but if you look on the inside, yeah, there's a lot of... Especially... Well, even the newer models, there's a lot of... Like, well, there should be a hole here, but there isn't. Yeah. Which I can kind of... Where's the aperture for the sight scope? So it was just literally poking through the gun mantlet. And there's just no hole there. So again, it's just there's no hole there. Okay, I got confused because there is a hole there, but not a hole there. Right, so... I can sand this down to the bare metal. Yes, magic machine guns that just, you know, they poke through poke through the steel somehow, magically. Don't worry about it. See, mostly you don't have to, like, you can just hop in and, like, even when it's assembled or mostly assembled, and you can just, like, sand things through other things, but occasionally you'll get components where that's not the case. So I'll have a quick rootle around before I commit to doing all the other stuff. Like putting all the other stuff in. Although we haven't even made the other stuff to put in yet, so we'll see. One of the areas of jank is it seems to base... Because you know how earlier I showed you, okay, you click on the tank status and you go, buy missing parts. If you fabricate some parts and then put them on the tank, it seems to count missing parts from, like, the initial state the tank is when it enters the garage, not the current state of the tank. So you can end up with, and I have had this happen, you end up with duplicate parts, and you end up with, like, parts in the inventory and thinking, well, wait, I've still got parts left over, I'm confused. And it took it happening a couple of times before I realised that, yeah, the game is just a bit janky. And is not a fact accounting for me having partially done some of the, like, constructed some of the parts that needed, rather than, like, doing all of them because I don't have enough scrap. So yeah, the whole scrap mechanic is like, I can kind of see where they're going from, but unless they're going to literally let you, like, buy bulk amounts of scrap rather than have to wander around outside occasionally, tediously clicking on the piles of girders and whatnot. Which, you know, like I said, it's the only way apart from recycling parts from the tanks themselves. Yeah, it's just so much easier to click on a buy all these parts button. And I'm not sure, like, it wasn't very thoroughly play tested, I don't think. But at least effort was put in where it counted in terms of the tank models. Right, so this is all of the primer, the undercoat. I think that's... Well, actually, I was gonna... Can we... No, okay, none of these modules come out. This is one of the simpler models. This will be one of the ones that came out with the game when it launched. Get the torsion bars done. If there'd been modding support for this tank, even just for adding, like, for allowing modders to create models or tweak models or whatever, because you just know there's turbo nerds out there that absolutely would sit down and do that and pore over available tank blueprints. Although a lot of them, it must be said, it's the kind of thing you would have to, like, literally go and pay for them from an archive. It's still the kind of thing where it's not like you can just go online and here's Tiger Tank blueprints or whatever. This one seems to have been, like, I can't see any holes in this one, so this one seems to be in pretty good condition. Yeah, AMX-40. Oh, I mean, would that be amazing? Although the innards would have to be pretty much fictional, because the real AMX-40 was, I think, nothing ever more than a wooden mock-up. I don't know if the like how much of the design work was actually done. I mean, it must have been relatively advanced to get to the stage of a wooden mock-up. Right, so that is everything that I've got that's finished. So now we need to, so we can, just for time's sake, we'll outsource repairs on those bits. And then we will, if I go to tank status menu, buy missing parts. Now, if I craft elements, do I have... See, that's really cheap. That's way cheaper than I was expecting, and it's still a fair few parts, but I guess because it's one of the simpler models and it is like reasonably complete, I was expecting that to be in the thousands, and instead it's like 300. And yeah, and because I have the blueprint, I can build a new hull for 5,000. It just seems to be a flat cost of 5,000. So yeah, I can just craft everything that I need, so I don't have to pay any money for that. I can just oh yeah, that's one of the parts that's being custom repaired, isn't it? So we have road wheels. What else needs to go in on the... Is that it? Feels weird there being a gap there, but that is probably entirely correct. No, see, there's something missing, because there's that track there's not going in. We're missing a torsion bar, but it's not... Wheels! Road, suspension arm. Is it something inside the tank that we're missing before we can put in the suspension arm? Maybe. I'm not sure what I'm missing there. Or is it just not showing up on the UI? This is one of those cannot tell if me or cannot tell if game being jank moments. Oh, we also have a little bit of rust on that final drive, actually. We need to take this sprocket off. There we go. Right. So, you know, there should be suspension arms there, but I'm not... It's not showing up as something I can... Okay, that's weird. I'm not sure why that is. And these aren't floor parts that I can take up to, like... So it's not that those are in the way. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm going to try just like loading, like saving and loading, see if that does something. Which, I've encountered one or two issues where I have had to save and load again. It's literally been the solution. No? That's really weird. What if I like take them all off and then put them all back on again? Is that gonna... I don't know. It shouldn't be. In fact, I don't think you can even take the torsion bars off from the side. Actually, no, I don't need to do that. No, it's not these buffer covers. If I wasn't interested in tanks at all, I think I would enjoy it a lot less. It's definitely quite a niche game. Like, if you don't enjoy tanks, I think the game part of it is a bit too thin and a bit too janky to hold its own. I think you would have to really, yeah, you would have to have that interest in tanks in order to be like, okay, this is interesting enough for me to stick with it over the, you know, slight issues of jank that I'm maybe having. Right, I don't... So you can remove the torsion bars from the inside. Can we... Okay, I'm going to take the hatches off before we... So that's more or less completely stripped down. So, so yeah, the ones, the middle torsion bars are just kind of like not modelled because you can't get to them because that floor area is like fully part of the tank model. You can't take that off. So it's only the exposed ones that are modelled. So I'm not sure how it can be that. I hope it's not that the model is bugged. That would be really annoying if the model was bugged and they hadn't fixed it like 5.5 years later. That would not reflect well. I don't know. I'm actually... This is a real weird one. I'm gonna look up the Steam forums real quick. Because if it's broken, you can bet somebody's complaining about it there. Okay, at least a couple of other people have had this problem. It's not just me. And these are posts going back to 2020. So, is this a problem with the game they've just never fixed? Oh dear. Okay, well this is the first one where I've uncovered a problem with one of the tank models. where it's it seems not to be everybody having this problem, but at least some people have had this issue where there's just... Okay, well, because I can't mount suspension arm there, it means I can't complete the track, so this KV1's gonna just have to sit and be forever partly unfinished. Oh well, I guess I can't put it in my museum area. What's a weird and disappointing issue? I mean, maybe it's one of these things where it only happens sometimes on the KV1, and if I get another KV1, it'll be fine. Like if I build a KV1 hull. Or I can just sell it, actually. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be complete in order to sell it. Just make it someone else's problem. Oh well, we'll put together as much as we can and then we'll just sell it, I guess. Which is a shame because it's one that doesn't have lots of holes in it. It doesn't seem like there's anything I can do about that. Oh well, right, so we're just going to leave the tracks off. Because there's no point. Hull interior. Oh no, there it is. Missing torsion bar. Wait, is that it? So you have to... Oh, for goodness sake. Okay. Right. Rah! Just gonna... Just... Rah! It's fine. I'm not annoyed. You're annoyed. Oh my goodness. Okay. So literally the only way to access where that torsion bar goes in is through the X-ray view. Which I don't... I think that's literally the only tank model where that's happened. Every other tank model there is some way to access an area like that. Like you pull up a bit of the floor or whatever. But for some reason in the KV1 they didn't do that. And apparently I'm not the first person that's fallen into that trap of not being able to get that torsion bar in place. Okay, so you can, you just have to dig into the menu to do it. Right. Again, going with the, this doesn't seem like it was all that well play tested. Okay, suspension complete. Fuel system exhaust pipe. Yeah, angry Jedi noises. Okay, so turret interior is literally just a view in the commander's seat. That's fine. Engine cover can go back on. Stick all the hatches and covers back. That should be exterior, interior, everything is done. So we can take that for a little trundle. Why not? Good old KV1. Not my preferred gun. Personally, I prefer this 57mm. Or at least the setup that you can do in World of Tanks, but I don't think that was ever done except to test... I keep clicking on the wrong thing. Test drive options. There we go. Or maybe take this to the gunnery range as well. Do a bit of pew pew with that 76mm. This so easily could have been like a single menu. But hey, it's immersive. Anyway. No, not examine mode. Test drive options. Proving grounds. There we go. I'll give it a paint job as well before we put it in the museum. I've no idea if giving it, giving your tank a paint job actually. Select. Oh, you can actually. Choose what you want to. Okay, so there's a bit of things going on here, but. To be honest, it's not that thrilling. Oh, I forgot how twitchy the camera was. Yes, KV1. I do like how the KV1 looks. It's a good solid brick of a tank. Right, get into position, and then I think you literally just, yeah, gunner position. Do I not get a periscope? Have they just not modelled a periscope? I guess we have to do this from the... Oh, no, there we go. Okay, the cycling is real weird. You have to just press C a bunch of times to get the view that you want. Okay. So we're firing... Oh, we're only loaded AP for some reason. We have got a proper looking reticle at least. Trying to figure out, does that make new holes appear on the wreck? This one is expending ammunition. For some reason the AVRE wasn't. Yeah, no, it doesn't make holes appear on the wreck. You get marks on the targets at least. Oh, that was low. Yay! Oh, those ones are actually a bit destructible. Okay. Nice! Got it first try. That was a little bit closer. Too high. I think the AVRE ammo counter not going down was just... I think it's probably supposed to, and that it was just jank. I think that was not too far off. The gun noises probably sound a bit more impressive from the outside view. Everything's strangely muted on the inside view. Oh, no, not really. Oh, you actually... Okay, even though I'm in the gunner slot right now, apparently I still can drive the thing. Huh. It's like I'm playing World of Tanks or something. Oh gosh, okay, yeah, you really need to be using the scope. It's way too twitchy. Well, that's destructible at least. Anyway, so, pew pew pew. The noise was a little underwhelming, but there we go, KV1. And yeah, we'll see. Do I have a KV-1 already, actually? Let's... museum... I do not. I don't think. Right, yeah, can go to the museum then. Move the Cromwell there. Yes, but what about second KV-1? Well, this one will have some so we've got a desert scheme. I might go for the desert scheme. You also have go for a Panzer captured KV-1, and then there's a bunch of like custom decals, but as you can see, very jank. The things don't pop in until you've finished scrolling. Yeah. Let's go with the... let's go with it. That's fine. Right, KV-1, into the museum you go. Move Tonk into a museum. There's literally an achievement, a Steam achievement, for every different kind of tank you put in the museum. It's like, okay, sure. Gotta pad out those Steam achievements somehow. And then the question becomes, where is KV-1 in this glorious mess of a UI? Actually, it's Soviet, so it's probably nearer the top. You'd think they'd be alphabetical, or by nation, or by type. But you would be very, very wrong. Don't be silly. Why would that be the case? Is that... No, that was the wrong place to click. I don't think that's KV-1. No, that's not KV-1. That's the Type E. We already scrolled past that. Is that... No, that's the BT7. BT7, KV-1, you know, it's basically the same thing. That's the Churchill. Or maybe the KV-1 is right down the bottom. Calliope. No, that's the Cromwell. Where's KV-1? Under what alphabet and name? I mean, the game is in English. Oh, there we go. It is right at the top. So I would go with that. But even if they went with Polish, Poland uses the same alphabet. Granted, they have a few letters, or not even letters. They have a few critical and diacritical marks that we don't use, but in English. But yeah, now there is some way. There is some way to have the machine guns poking out, and I don't know how you do it. No? Well, that's just that mode. No, it's not the tank analysis screen. No, that's just the X-ray view, which is cool and all, but it's not what I want. It's full of shells again for some reason. I didn't put the shells in there. I don't know why that is. Jank. It's because jank. I can't get it to be un-X-rayed now. Okay, whatever. Oh, all the tanks are now X-rayed. But only the KV-1 has had shells magically appear in it because reasons. Don't think about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Right, so I think what we'll do... Do I have the Cromwell blueprints? What we'll do is I'll do the Cromwell and I'll probably wrap the stream up there because the Cromwell is going to take a while. Okay, that was nearly half a mil. The Cromwell is rather complicated. Now, having bought the blueprints, will I have even anything close enough to... oh, yeah, no, we do want that. I just bought the blueprint for this tank. What are you talking about, you bozo? Wait, did I click the wrong thing? I clicked the wrong thing. I think I clicked the I think I clicked the tiger. Okay. I clicked the tiger. It's fine. I bought the tiger blueprints by mistake. You know, Tiger 1, Cromwell, they're basically the same tank, right? Right, we actually have just about enough. I mean, to be fair, yes, they do. So there we go. We can actually do this pretty cheaply. They do both have straight boxy front, but like they're not that. Yeah, so we just have to clean up what we've got, and then we'll have like all the finished parts basically to go on. Ooh, that engine's in not a great shape. We've got one piston head. Okay. Now this is, I might even do this as like a separate thing for my YouTube channel, because this is the very latest addition to Tank Mechanic Simulator. It is a DLC that is just one, I have to grind it first, one tank. It's not the original company, it's like an outsourced, oh, they've outsourced it to another studio. And it is super detailed. Like, some of the others are reasonably detailed. Like, some of the Shermans are pretty good. The German tanks are generally a bit lacking in the detail, as are some of the Soviet tanks. But this one is just like 10 out of 10 for detail, but also maybe that detail coupled with some of the jank going on with the way the game handles. And you know, so the lack of quality of life features in some regards is it's maybe not the best combination overall. Right, that is the entirety of what we have for a gearbox there. Right, it's missing a few parts. If I remember correctly, the gearbox was actually like one of the very important parts of getting the Cromwell tank to fruition, because there was a whole process of, like, it wasn't just prototype, okay, here's a Cromwell tank. They went through a whole process of like designs where they had less powerful engines and some other differences going on, and there was like 3 or 4 different versions before we got to the Cromwell that we know. And then some of the older ones with the less powerful engines were then able to be kind of refitted and brought up to the actual Cromwell standard, as it were. Is it A24? I can't remember. But it was actually a surprisingly complicated design history. And the Merritt Brown gearbox ended up being like a really important part of getting the thing to be an actual fast cavalry tank. And you get to build the whole thing. They've modelled the whole thing, the whole gearbox. Which is kind of neat. Oh, I missed a little bit there. Can we actually reach that from the inside? Yes. Yeah, trying to jump out of this is... They really should have made the jump a bit higher. I think actually we've moved that because we've removed that central rotation device. So, reset position. First time I've had to do it, but yeah. It's one of those dev tools that, or debug things that they had to leave in the game because otherwise you would just get stuck sometimes. And the suspension on this one is actually more complicated than I thought it was as well. But again, just being able to like disassemble it and reassemble it and see all the parts put together, it sort of really brings together how, oh yeah, that's how it works. Which is just kind of cool. Right, it's also got these, in fact it's probably easier to do that from underneath. These little bitty, itty bitty drain covers. Take the convoy lamp off. I think that might be the only drain cover we have in place, actually. Oh, no, there's one there as well. Right. We can get the hull primed. So this is a pretty bare hull. So we're going to have a bunch of stuff to add on here. But it is pleasingly... I mean, tanks like the Cromwell and like the Hellcats in the game as well. It makes me wish that the test course was rather bigger than it is, or if you could unlock a bigger test course and really let her rip. Because as it is, the Proving Ground doesn't really have enough... Well, I'm going to have to do that again, aren't I? Doesn't have enough sort of space in a straight line. I need a drag strip for my tanks, goddammit. Especially when they're Cromwells and Hellcats. Oh well, if I want to see Cromwell go fast, I've got to fire up World of Tanks or War Thunder for that, I suppose. A downhill section for the AMX World. Exactly. Exactly. Right, let's slap that primer in there. I've done a Cromwell before, so in theory I won't get tripped up the way I did the very first one I did. Because I know the game a bit better now. I have some reasonable idea what to expect. Right, I don't think there's anything outside the ammo tins that needs refurbishing. Oh yeah, the interior lamps. So there's stuff like that, like some of the tanks, like the AVRE has them, I think the IS-2 has them modelled. But there's a bunch of tanks that like just have such little interior detail that it's almost sort of disappointing, and you don't know if that's just them skimping or if the turret really was that sparse. Right, oh yeah, paint. I don't know why I'm running over there. We need to do the paint. I'd really love this game to have... I don't know why in particular, but the B1, the Shah B1 or the B1 bis, I think that would be a real fun one to have. If they do get more tanks added via DLC, that would be my vote. The Shah 2C. I thought, would the Shah 2C even fit in this garage? Like, you'd be struggling with Tog. I guess it's tall enough. But this would have to be further back, surely. The thing was a monster. Right, so we've got everything prepped. There's a few more things that will need to be cleaned. But, oh, we've only done the primer, we haven't done the final coat. Oop. It's almost a pity there was never a collab with Wargaming. Or hell, that Wargaming never thought, hey, this would be a thing that we could do before this company came along and did it. Like, Wargaming has been kind of... They've tried to do other... Like they've dabbled at being a publisher and it didn't, like, go super well. They weren't super successful, but I would say they picked some fairly niche games, and I don't know what their expectations were, but the games that they picked to publish were kind of... I don't know. But, like, with the talent and everything that they had, like, they could easily have done something like this. Or, you know, like virtual warship tours, or I don't know, they just seem real bad at leveraging what they're good at times. I'm just gonna... Oh, there we go. Interior drive. I'll just have a quick peek. Aha! I figured there'd be some little gubbins hidden away here. Then get in the radio operator / gunner. That's all good. And then we've got to reset again because you can't jump out there. Right, so that's looking all right. I think all of everything should be done. So let's get the turret first. It's like you could get all this stuff. I mean, when you craft it, there's no extra cost in terms of parts to crafting it as being finished, as opposed to being like rusty and needed cleaning. I have done that with 1 or 2 tanks just to, like, you save a little bit of money if you're buying rusty parts and then you put all the rusty parts on the frame and then you do all the cleaning and stuff yourself. But to be honest, the money you save versus the extra time it takes, it's just kind of not worth it. Because it's really not hard to make money in this game. There's no outgoings. There's no, like, ongoing costs. There's no wages. There's no... You got to do, you know, like, spend this much every month. You got to this, that, and the other. So if they wanted this to be kind of an economically hard game, they did not really think it through at all. Right, just like the amount of like, compared to the other turrets I've done, you can immediately see you have to wire everything in the turret. And, you know, make sure all the pipes are in place and... okay, exterior. Of course, we haven't got the gun in yet, have we? What's missing? Oh, yes. The part that you point at the enemy that goes bang. Generally considered to be quite an important component. Right, so then we have all the actual... like... there's even models... they've modelled, like, you know, the crew canteens and stuff like that. So, like, this... I mean, also the fact that the company is, like, concentrated on a single tank is probably... and I say it's probably like a couple of devs modelling the whole thing. Turret interior, what have we missed? Oh, tiny little electrical terminal tucked away there, a couple of wires. So I think for the cost it's pretty good. We're still missing something inside. So even the lighting wires, like even though the lights that are there on the IS-2 and the AVRE, they haven't modelled the lighting wires, so it's like this just feels so much more complete. Fan wires, okay, that interior lamp there, and fan wires. There we go. Oh, no, I went to... inside of a Cromwell turret. It's pretty neat. For some reason, with the Cromwell, it plumps you down inside the hull when you've been inside the crew positions. So you have to reset the garage every single time. It's kind of annoying. Actually, I don't... When did the boiling vessel become a thing? That would actually be really interesting to know. Because I always think of it like when I think of boiling vessel, for some reason it's always like post-war that comes to mind, post-war tanks. And I don't know if there's any wartime tanks that would have had that, or even pre-war tanks. So this is how the Cromwell suspension works. End of the World War II. The Centurion. Okay, so the Centurion was the first one. And then this whole thing is tucked away behind a plate of armour. Which, okay, it's keeping it, like, more free of, like, debris and stuff, presumably, but you've got a whole extra armour plate to take off before you can actually get out the suspension if it needs fixing at all. So yeah, the whole thing is just on these highly angled spring tubes, essentially. Okay, right. Put the rotation contact device in. So once that's in, you can actually stand on that and hop out of the hull. So there is all kinds of this. Basically, all the wiring is modelled in this, and all the tubes and all the, like, you know, oil filter lines and fuel lines and all of the things. Right, so let's get the front in. So we've got headlight wiring, we've got controls. Now I know not to get tripped up by one I got tripped up by last time. Because there's one little box up, like, I think it's the, is it this? There's basically one little box that you have to have installed, and if you don't have that installed, then it trips up, like, just the last couple of pieces. I think it was that's what tripped me up last time. And then I couldn't put the control rods in, and then you can't put in, like, all this stuff here that's popping into existence. And it just, I must have spent like half an hour figuring it out. And then now, of course, I know I could have just looked at the tank, you know, the tank analysis doodad, and it would have just told me, oh yeah, that part's missing. And I will take you right to where that area is. So yeah, look at that. I mean, I can't even remember how much this was. This is a separate DLC, because I just bought everything all in one go as a all in one offer on sale. But yeah, for the amount of detail in here. Like, if all the tanks were this detailed, that would be amazing. Even if ultimately all you're doing is right-clicking to install. But just getting to see the detailed interior of a tank and how all the fuel hoses and lines and wires and controls and how everything is all linked together. Hey, Baldy? Can I call you Baldy? Or is that rude? I don't know. Hey, you're the one that's got the name really too bold, so I'm assuming there's some levels of boldness going on there. Yeah, we're getting towards the end of this stream, but yeah, this is Tank Mechanic Simulator, and this is the DLC that just came out, which is a really, really detailed model of the Cromwell. And I just think it's neat. So there's another really small part that you have to put in to get all these other parts to go in before you can, like, get the gunner seat to go in. Or is it these parts over here? I honestly can't remember. Oh, there we go. Yes, it's those parts over there. They've even modelled the bags that catch the spent MG ammunition. Right, which I don't think any of the other tanks have. Auxiliary generator. Don't you just love it? This is so good. And it just makes you wish that the company had, you know, like, they've even bothered an oil can, which presumably, you know, it would have been standard equipment to have an oil can with thing. Or they may have just done it because, you know, for funsies. So yeah, even seeing a Cromwell in person at the Tank Museum, you don't exactly get to see this kind of X-ray view. It's the kind of thing that only video games can really do. Right, we have... Oh yeah, we have not done even close to beginning the... we've done most of the crew compartment, but we have to do now the gearbox. The Merritt Brown. Yes, I will remember. In fact, I will do that right now. Where are we? Go on YouTube. Australian Armour Museum. I'm also subbed to, oh god, the Chieftain. I don't know if he does them so much these days, but he's got a really interesting backlog of like basically tours of various armoured vehicles. And of course he's a really tall guy, so one of the fun things is always, will the chieftain fit into this vehicle? And he's had a jolly good go in some very tight spaces, but yeah, he wouldn't have done as a tanker back in the day. I think he'd have been just a little bit too tall. But modern tanks are a little roomier in that regard. Well, I say modern tanks, modern Western tanks. He probably still would struggle to fit in a lot of Soviet and Russian designs. I mean, they're mostly Soviet designs, let's be honest. There's really not that many post-Soviet examples of anything. Firstly, because the 90s were a disaster, and then post that era, I mean, it took them a long time to start building back up to doing, you know, adding stuff to their military budget, and they just, I don't know, they never seem to have had the capacity to go beyond, here's a few prototypes. The T-14 will hit the battlefields of Ukraine any day now. You'll see, you guys. Any day now. It'll single-handedly win the war. Somehow. God, there are people out there that are actually like that. It's kind of worrying. So we go. Big, chunky gearbox. And not only do you build the gearbox, you've got to put in the hydraulic lines and all the radiator tubes. Oh yeah, I remember looking at this and the first time and thinking, I wonder if you could cool a PC with this fan. Yeah, it's the kind of thing they would do in, like they've built some LTT, Linus Tech Tips of over the years. They've done some fairly funky, interesting, weird PC cooling solutions. I don't think they've ever, however, used a cooling fan off a tank. So, you know, that would be a first if they ever did that. Right, I want to actually... Oh. There we go. This is when you start getting to these, like, top plate armour bits, it can get a bit... I think... Is there caps on that? Maybe. Right, oh. So many lines, so many wires. Makes you appreciate how complicated these things are. So that's actual gear connectors, which is just literally a couple of wires. There's another drain cover there. And get this side tank radiator, etc., in. So yeah, if I'm ever super rich because I've won the lottery, or I have no idea how I would become super rich. I don't know, I've assassinated Mr. Beast and started wearing his face as a skin mask and pretending to be him, and somehow got access to his millions. Which is probably a more likely scenario than me winning the lottery. My mind went to a weird place there. But Yeah, I would totally. That's one of the things I would do, is I would have a custom PC case built around the exhaust fan of a Cromwell. Because why not? That's the point where you've got stupid money, you might as well do stupid things. And, you know, hopefully stupid things that don't screw... Oh, it's that exhaust pipe that's missing. Screw over to many other people, or any other people at all. Apart from Mr. Beast, and, you know, would anyone mind or / notice? He's already got those cold, dead eyes. And that weird fixed grimace, so, you know, if I was wearing his face as a skin mask, would anybody truly notice the difference? Alright, see you, Latty. Not Latty, Foo. I got confused for a second there. Me confused? Never. What is missing from... Have I got everything in the engine compartment? Not sure yet. What driver's seat? Can actually quickly pop into... I mean, we can check with the tank configurator, but it's kind of cool to sit in the thing and have a look-see around you. And oh, there we go, that's the thing I missed. Auxiliary generator. There's the batteries. And we've got the generator, and then more wires. And more tubes. Then you've got these nice little fitted ammo boxes on that side. Right, we haven't done a lot of the suspension yet, but we can... hull interior. We've got most of the things. What are we missing? It'll be like a lamp or something. Lubricating lines. Oh. 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 Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. This is what happens. So I should really check these things before I go sticking everything in. We've got this. I mean, this is just me being perfectionist. Although it actually might prevent the tank from running. Because it probably counts as like a broken part. But because it's buried under all this other stuff. Oh, for goodness sake. Not really. I mean, you can... This is... Because this is a wreck. Like, I can sell this in any condition. But I'm just being perfectionist about it. However, I suspect the tank itself would not run unless I have, like, the fuel lines... Oh, do I have to take that frame off? Is that what's... unless I had, like, if I've got a Duff fuel line, then it's probably not going to actually, because you can run around in the tanks. It gives you a little, so there we go. It's that one line there that we have to get fixed. So if you're doing a contract, yeah, you basically have to make sure the thing is finished before you can like complete the contract and get your money back, or not get your money back, but get paid for it. But for a tank that you're putting, that you're either going to sell yourself or you're going to put in your museum, it kind of doesn't matter. But I would not be surprised if there's a mechanic where the better condition a tank is, like a perfect condition tank will have the best rating for your, or produce the best rating for your museum, whereas having a bunch of like rusty wrecks in your museum probably isn't going to be particularly attractive to visitors. So yeah, there's actually, I think the BT7, it was like the first tank the first tank wreck, or was it one I dug up? I can't remember. I think it was like one of the tutorial tanks, and you'd like dig it up, and it was before I figured out that the tank config screen let you see exactly where everything was. So what I did was I literally stripped out every part, but managed to miss like a piece of the gearbox or something. So the tank is through there in the museum at the moment on like 98% condition because there's this one part that I missed. But to fix that one part, I would have to basically disassemble half the tank to get at the gearbox. So I really can't be bothered to go back and fix that one mistake. But while I'm in the process of doing the thing, then yeah, I might as well make sure everything is tippity-toppity. Because I kind of don't think I'll be able to be bothered later on. It's funny as well, I don't think there's no penalties. There's not like, okay, I'm going to turn in this half-assed job and the client gets really angry with you and it tanks your reputation and like they don't pay you for your time or whatever. I really like, again, I think they put most of their effort into like the tank construction, deconstruction side of things, and the actual everything else just seems a bit kind of tacked on, bit of an afterthought. Right, that fuel line, that lubricating line will be done. So I can put all of this gubbins back in. And all those belts, exhaust. Was there anything else? Coolant pipe, coolant drain line, coolant drain pump, coolant surge tank. Well, I mean, this tank it certainly does, but for a lot of the tanks, I mean, this is one of the things I was saying earlier in the streams, a lot of the tanks, they seem to follow a curve almost. So the tanks that came out of launch seem to be the simplest, and then the two DLCs that the company put out, the tanks are some of them a bit more complex. Like the Shermans, for example, you do a full, you're fully constructing the gearbox as we did with the Sherman. And of course, as we did here with the Cromwell, with the Shermans, it's at the front. So it's, you know, you get a Sherman hull which doesn't have a gearbox, and basically the entire front part of the tank is missing, which looks a bit weird. But yeah, some of the, like the Tigers, for instance, the most complex part of the Tiger is by far the wheels, and putting all the interleaving road wheels in, which takes absolutely forever. But the actual interior is relatively sparse. It was the same with the KV1. Was the interior was relatively sparse. So there's quite a bit of variance within the models, and this is by far the most detailed, most complicated, but most complete model. And if they tried to be like, okay, this model of tank we're giving you to fix early on it's an easier tank, you know, it's a more simplified tank model, and then these later ones are going to be higher difficulty tanks when you're a bit more confident in what you're doing. But the game doesn't really do that. I think most people, however, would see that this is a game published by Playway, and that would basically let you know what you're in for. Like, some Playway games are actually relatively polished. I mean, U-Boat, for example, that's published by Playway. That was pretty rough to start with when it was in early access, but that got steadily far more better, and they are at some point this year going to release the Type 9 U-Boat DLC, which I will almost certainly buy. And probably, you know, stream that when that comes out. But yeah, that turned out to be a pretty polished little game that, okay, it's no Silent Hunter, but it's probably also a lot more accessible than the Silent Hunter games were. Which I actually bought, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 on, I can't even remember if it was Steam or GOG. It was one of them. But yeah, I had to go. I tried to get my head around it, and it was a little bit too hardcore for me. Like, if you're dead into your sub-sims, then they are basically still the go-to games. I think 3 and 4, I want to say. Yeah, one was Pacific and one was Atlantic. I can never remember which one was which. There's all kinds of mods for them as well. But yeah, U-Boat went with the route of offering lots and lots of levels of, well, not lots of levels, but levels of options as to how, like, arcade and not. Right, what we're missing here. There's obviously some, I bet there's an interior thing. Air vent B is, no, that's what the interior weird, okay. It's not that. Not sure why it won't let me put that cover on. Maybe the turret needs to be on? I honestly can't remember. Fuel system. We are missing a fuel hose, but we fortunately can put that in without... Oh, literally I had to put that one fuel hose in before the air filter hatch B would go up. Okay, alright. This game has got a couple of things like that. Right, so we're just... Or this model, rather. So we're waiting for that air filter to fix. So, whole exterior. Oh yeah, the convoy lamp, and then we've got a drain cover to put on as well. Somewhere there, oil tank drain cover. Whoop. Right, so that air vent B. So that should be hull and turret more or less done. Rear brake light, did I not? See, now that's tiny. I can be excused for missing that. Right, we've got those side air vents to put... Oh, just on that side, though. Okay, right. So... now we have to build the engine. So we've got the turret, we've got the hull. Now we need to make it go. And this is one of those fully modelled engines, or more or less fully modelled. Is it the Meteor? I can't remember which... I think it's the Meteor that they put in this. I remember it being a Rolls-Royce engine. It's one of the reasons why it goes. So yeah, there was a lot missing from it, but it's fine. We can put it back together, make it shiny and new. Get the cylinder housing on. And then all of the valves and the rockers and the camshafts. Oh, no, I didn't want... don't want that point of view yet, game. No, it's decided because I've clicked on that. Right, this is the kind of thing where if you had missed a part deep in the engine that needed a bit of sanding or whatever, you would absolutely hate yourself for having to tear it down and go back in. Which I have done on a similar but different engine. I think it was one of the... I think it was a Sherman, one of the Shermans. It wasn't the early Sherman though, with the radial. But yeah, I had to tear down half the engine block because one of the rods was rusted. And for some reason, just sandblasting it and doing all the rest from the outside was fine for literally every other rod that was in there. But for this one particular one, I had to deconstruct it. It was really annoying. Oh well. Definitely lesson learned on that one is certain engines, the more complicated ones, just strip the thing down. And then do the outsourced cleaning. Because in this game the money really don't matter that much. The only really expensive thing is the blueprints. Right, what have I missed there? Or do the spark plugs have to go in? Oh no, I think I have to build this end. I think this is the most complete... Yeah, there we go. We have to build this end of the engine. It's the most complete engine model. Or the most sort of detailed engine model. Although probably not by a very big margin. Right, there's the camshaft. Now, with certain things, if you line it up right, it's tricky, but you can kind of cheese the thing a bit. So it'll do them in sequence, but it's kind of tricky to do. Because screws are the only... Like, a lot of things where you're having to hold them down, you have to, like, right click, but the screws, you can just hold down right click, and if you get it lined up right, it'll just do a whole line of them. I don't... How would you even speedrun this game? I don't even begin to... I don't know, like, you'd have to come up with your own category, like, get every achievement, or do one of every tank, or... So much of it is randomized as well in terms of, like, the recs and the contracts that you get. And of course, the only tanks that you get to keep are the I shouldn't have put that on first, should I? The only ones you get to keep are the non-contract ones, apart from when you get an email, which is technically a contract, to go and dig one out. But you're just doing it for yourself, even though somebody else has emailed you to do it for some reason. It makes sense somehow, don't worry about it. Right, so same thing on this side, all the valves, and then the rockers, and then the in-betweeny bits, and then the camshafts, then the covers, and then you've got to do all the... Got to do the outside spark plugs. Man, I really want there to be some French tanks in this. I just like French tanks. The early war French tanks. Don't know what it is about them. But, like I said, some of the early war British tanks would be nice as well. Give me a Matilda! I need it. I want it. Actually, which would be more significant? Like the Matilda or the Valentine? They would both be interesting to have, but it's like, which is the more significant tank? I don't think I know enough. Possibly the Matilda, because of the thickness of its armour. And the 2-pounder was, at the start of the war, a very, very good anti-tank gun. But also that huge cast block of armour that was the front of the tank was expensive and difficult to produce. Right, there we go, camshaft housing. And we'll see if we can get them lined up the right way. I don't know, it's weird. I don't think this is something they intended for players to do. It's just kind of an unintentional consequence of how they've coded it. I really wish there was an upgrade that you could purchase that, like when you've got a part that's got multiple screws or bolts, just did everything at once. It would have been such a time save. And it would have removed such a lot of ball ache. Right, we're getting there. Got the outside spark plugs to do, and then maybe some other bits. Oh yeah, there's the oil bracket things at the bottom to do as well. which no, I don't want to click on the stand. There we go. I want to click on these. Little gubbins. Is that one rusty? Interesting. How did that not get cleaned? Actually, before we do that, right, that's one tiny little rusty bit. Can't tell if I got it or not. I did. And there we go, sanded. Right. Is that it? Did we do it? 99.1. We're missing a spark plug. 99.6. I'm still missing something. There'll be one little... Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. Okay, the ignition wires, the outside wires. There we go. A Rolls-Royce Meteor, possibly, I think. Probably. I sound so sure of myself. Right, Cromwell. Nice. Okay, the UI is not super responsive. Rear brake light. Oh yes, we took that off and cleaned it, didn't we? It's even got the wire. And there is one. Was there a panel? Wait, air vent A, did I not? Oh, replaceable only condition. Okay, we missed that. Okay, it's just that I haven't accidentally made any extra parts or anything like that and wasted a bunch of scrap. It's going to take so much time to gather enough scrap to do another build like this. Oh well. I think the main point of buying blueprints, that like the scrap thing is like, okay, yeah, you can do stuff a lot cheaper, but you buy the blueprints and you can just buy the new hulls essentially, well, new. And then buy the parts for them. I think trying to craft parts is just too much of a time sink. So how long does it take to do one vent? I don't know. The amount of time feels fairly arbitrary. Like you give them a whole huge heap of things and it takes a minute. And you give them one thing to do, it still takes a minute. It's like, okay. You just picked a random amount of time to make people wait because reasons. There we go. One Cromwell. Let's slap some paint on her. I'll take her out for a little spin. We could fire the gun, but I don't know. We've seen how the gun firing mechanic works. It's it's not that great. Right, there's no paint schemes, so I'll just use a camo. That will be one of the desert camos, right? Is that's one of the US camos, surely? I don't know if the camos are... I don't know. I mean, the German camos and the Soviet camos are certainly separated. I think the American and British camos might just be the same bunch of camos. Let's go with that one. And then... interior options. Ah, there we go. Test drive op. No, I keep going to toggle engine when I mean to go to the fluid thing, and then inevitably it comes up just at that moment to go, you don't have any fluids in your tank, you dumbass. I think maybe the UI could have been made a little bit better, but it just about works. Oh, we have 3 coolant tanks, apparently. Oh. Oh, I see. So there's like the central reservoir and then the 2 radiators, which I guess makes sense. Okay, let's get this on the test drive track thing. And again, the frame rate does unpleasant things. But hey ho. There we go, we can open the circular driver sight. A little driver compartment. Wave hello to the bow gunner / radio operator. He's so cool. It's the closest I'm ever going to come to sitting in an actual Cromwell. I don't know why that's painted that way on the inside. That's going to be a slight model issue. Right, driver slot. Let's fire up that lovely Rolls-Royce. Sounds pretty good. It took a while for the controls to come up, but there we go. So there just isn't enough space on this little test track to get up to the top speed that this thing could get up to. You definitely can't with the Hellcat. We need tank drag racing, dagnabbit. How come nobody's ever made a game where you drag race tanks? It's a travesty. Oh no, we're gonna crash! We're escaping! I want to be free! Just ignore the void, it's fine. This game takes place in an alternate universe where Earth is hollow. Yes. So there we go, that's the Cromwell. It's very well modelled, very detailed. If you had to do a bunch of them in a row, it might get a bit tedious with how detailed they are. But there's enough other tanks in the game that you would have to do that on purpose. Alright, let's get this stuck in the museum, and then I think we'll wrap the stream up there, because we've been going on for 3.5 hours, apparently. Right. Tank manager. Move tank. I've put a Cromwell in the museum. Apparently that's a rare achievement. Mind you, like I think I put a Calliope and a Churchill AVRE in the museum, and those were also both rare achievements. So maybe not that many people played it after launch. 0.5% of players have this achievement. Yeah, I'm a super turbo elite player for having put a Cromwell together. Okay, now we have multiple models, multiple, like the more tanks we're getting in here, the frame rate is definitely... He's not happy. It's not happy. It's chugging. Right, Cromwell's super easy. They've added it the most recently, so it's the one just smack bang down at the bottom. Cromwell Mk.IV. No, we want the top. Gonna give me the top stand? There we go. Whee! It's Tonk! Tonk is good. Pet the Tonk. Pet, pet, pet. Right, yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the stream. This is Tank Mechanic Simulator. There's nothing really like it, but it's also very deeply janky. So I would say definitely, if you're going to buy it on a sale and try and buy it as a package where you get everything all together. I don't think, like, what even is this full price? It's not even that much full price, but just given how deeply janky it is. Full price for the base game is £15.49, and the complete bundle is 20 odd pounds, 22, 23. Is that all the DLC? Yes, that's all the DLC. At the moment, it's deeply on sale. It's 72% discounted. It's just over £6. For £6, I can absolutely recommend it. But if you have a very low tolerance for jank, then you might still think £6 is not worth it. But yeah, I personally am enjoying it though. But I don't think I would enjoy it if I if I didn't have some interest in tanks. I think if you have no interest in tanks, it's pretty hard to recommend this as a game. It really is all about poking around inside tanks and getting to virtually sit in tanks that you might otherwise be like... I mean, you could try going and sitting inside a Tiger II, but the museum staff at Bovington would probably be very cross with you. Anyway, so, yeah, everyone, I hope you have enjoyed yourselves. I will put some or all of this up on YouTube, and yeah, have a good evening or day or whatever, wherever you are, and I'll catch you next time.